One of the things saving me during this pandemic, and probably saving all of us, is the resurgence of Harry Potter through TikTok. So I've actually gotten to rereading and rewatching the books and the movies, and oh my god, there's just so much about the entire thing that flew over my head, because the first time I read them I was 11 years old. So a decade later, here I am rewatching and rereading, and all in the month of October, which is just so freaking magical. The Dursley abuse makes absolutely no sense. If you really don't care about this kid, then chuck him to his magical world and be happy about it and stop throwing a fit every summer. You just kind of have to chalk it up to it being a story. And as a writer, there's some piece to that fact that not everything is going to make sense in your story, because it's just a story. Things don't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be logistical. It doesn't have to represent real world thought processes. But that brings me on to my next point. I don't get when people are so down on Dumbledore. From my understanding, people don't like Dumbledore because Dumbledore knew that Harry was going to die and raised him as a pig for the slaughter. Those are Snape's words, by the way. We don't trust Snape's words. Reminder. Oh, and then the fact that Dumbledore literally let Harry live with the Dursleys and suffer that abuse for 11 years. I kind of make peace with it, knowing that once again, it's just a story. When you remember that the blood that runs through Petrush, what's her fucking name? The rat woman. When you remember that her blood keeps Harry safest of all, and when you remember that Harry did have to die, he did have to die, and he had to do it at the right moment so that he was able to come back. Because let's say theoretically that Harry died as an 11-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, you know, fighting Voldemort the first time that he fought Voldemort, and then he fights him again. He doesn't get a second chance. So it's best that Harry learned everything he needed to learn. That way he had a fighting chance fighting Voldemort the second time. He has to live and then kill him. And that's not really Dumbledore's fault. Order of Phoenix Dumbledore, fine. God would have fired Dumbledore. You want to hate the performance? Hate it. I hated it too. But like, Dumbledore as a character and his plot and his actions, I don't understand why you'd hate him as a character. The next really cool thing that I realized was the fact that spiders hate basilisks. Spiders hate the ancient snake creature thing, because when you look at the snake, it kills you, yes? And spiders have a bunch of eyes. Don't they have like a 360 view? So that is why spiders have this ancient and instinctual fear of the basilisk. My literally number 3 was, y'all have no reason to stand Malfoy. Why? People think that he deserves this character arc, this character redemption, and I personally don't think so. Malfoy was too cowardice to be bad. He never chose good. He was a bad person through and through, even through the last moment. Draco saw who was losing and decided to dip. But anyways, besides that, Malfoy literally never quits calling Hermione a mudblood. In the movies, you only see it emphasized in the Chamber of Secrets for obvious reasons, but in the books, he never quits calling her a mudblood. He literally makes fun of Harry for being an orphan, which in my opinion is kind of like making fun of a kid with cancer because they have cancer. It's like, you don't do that. Are you stupid? I don't think Lockhart was a Ravenclaw, and I'm gonna tell you why. I personally think that if he were really a Ravenclaw, he would have just sought knowledge for knowledge's sake. That's just my thinking anyhow. I really don't see how a Ravenclaw could go through all of those means just for fame and glory. It seems kind of not in the attitude of a Ravenclaw. It would make more sense if his motivation was to take the credit so that his books could sell more, and therefore the knowledge hidden within his books would be more widespread. However, that isn't exactly what is explained behind his methods. He just wanted them to sell, and we all know he was full of himself. He had his pictures all in throughout his office. So yeah, that's my thinking. I think Gilderoy was actually a Slytherin, possibly even a Gryffindor. Oh my god. I've been commenting this all over TikTok. Dumb bitch literally hid Voldemort behind a turban, and it was a shock to us when we found out that she was a TERF. I think that she who must not be named would have hid Voldemort behind a hijab. However, that would require giving a main character role to a woman and complexities to a woman villain. J.K. Rowling didn't do that. She wasn't down with that. She was not down with giving women roles or villain roles. Even the Death Eaters seem to be mostly men, and it just made no sense. It made no sense. We all kind of see Harry as kind of dumb. And it's like, it's not without reason. He is a very average wizard, and that's kind of the point. I just don't think that Harry is dumb, and I think at one point in the book, somebody, probably Draco, makes fun of Harry and like reduces him to Neville. Harry was able to defy the Imperiatus curse. Harry fought Voldemort's Imperio curse. You're not dumb when you fight Voldemort's Imperio curse. Just like the way that there's a natural ability to Hermione being as studious as she is, there is a natural thing within Harry that he is such a good wizard. Harry figured out to stab the diary pretty quickly while he was almost dying, literally while he was dying. And Harry was the one who had a light bulb moment and realized that Voldemort was the one who sold Hagrid the dragon. So yeah, I just think we don't give my boy Harry enough credit here. Lucius was really gonna kill Harry because he's lazy and because he didn't want to do his dishes and do his laundry. A grown man. Just kind of a general realization that there are more male roles, more male screen time. A good example of that being the difference between Hagrid and McGonagall. McGonagall actually doesn't have that much to do. She doesn't privately speak to Harry until book 5. Hagrid served the story so much more than McGonagall, and I feel like when you think of McGonagall, you think of her as more intrinsic to the storyline, but she's really not. She's almost as important to the storyline, maybe even less important to the storyline as Professor Triani, and we do not think of that bitch as important. Another good example of that being all of their friends are guys, which like is understandable because they're all of the friends that are in their dormitory. However, Hermione doesn't have any friends, literally any, besides Ron and Harry, and they're barely her friends. In The Prisoner of Azkaban, I also make a note of the fact that Harry doesn't cry. Maybe it's because they're British, maybe it's because he's a boy, but he's also a young boy, and I feel like we should have seen Harry cry many times. He made a mental note that he got his very first birthday card. I figured that's a good crying moment. We should have seen him cry when he was 12 and thought that his friends weren't listening to him or messaging him, whatever. I completely forgot that they were absolute dickheads to Hermione in their 3rd year. Hermione literally just wanted Harry to be safe. I wrote down, she's a much better friend for someone with no friends. She literally has no friends at this point, and it's still so sad. So she's been in school for 3 years and she has no friends besides these 2 dickheads, little teenagers who are like, oh, she tried to save my life for the billionth time, and she's about to keep saving their life. She could have died last year. And it's just very convenient because then, fast forward the next year, Hermione remains impartial when the girlies are fighting. Oh my god. At the end of the 3rd book, Lupin talks about how the potion lets him transform into a werewolf and he gets to be a human in his brain, and he literally says that he gets to write it out in his office. So like, if you're an artist out there, could you just draw Lupin as a werewolf sitting at his desk in his office? That'd be so cute. As a writer, something I'm stealing from the turf is the fact that every year, every other year, whatever, the storyline seems to go, no one's done it until Harry did it, or until Harry was relevant. He's literally the boy who lived. They literally say, you'd be crazy to break into Gringotts. Somebody breaks into Gringotts. And then it goes full circle their 7th year when they break into Gringotts. Nobody'd break out of Azkaban until it happened. 4th year, nobody can defy the cup until it happened. The McKay illustration, page 323 of the 4th book. Ron has the nerve to tell Hermione that they're supposed to be friends. Ron is so dramatic. Hermione no longer has a cat after the 3rd year in the movies. I feel like some people might have already noted this in their brains, but I never did. I kind of always figured that Harry had always seen death because he was there when his parents died. But the fact that Harry first sees the Threstles in his 5th year tells us that he didn't actually see his mom die. Maybe you could argue that it's because baby Harry doesn't remember, but I don't think that those rules really apply to magic. So my thinking is that when Harry first sees the Thrussels, it's because the first person he physically saw with his own 2 eyes die was Cedric, not his mom. He never saw his mom die. If he saw his mom die, he would have seen the Thrussels in the years previous. Oh my god, okay. Okay, this next one, I'm totally shitting on Ron, and if you love Ron, I love him too, okay? I love Ron. He's kind of useless. For a very long time, he's kind of useless. And book 4 really makes me mad at Ron. Like, not even just the Yule Ball. Like, from the beginning, book 4 Ron is ridiculous. So he tells Harry, we should sign up for the Triwizard Tournament. We've done loads of stuff. Ron, the only thing you did was win a chess game. Yes, you had the courage to go down into the Chamber of Secrets, but you really didn't do anything but babysit. The next thing you did was get your ankle twisted. You didn't do anything, son. You did not do anything. I don't know where you think that you can compete in the Triwizard Tournament. And then it just really rubbed me the wrong way when Ron immediately thinks ill of Harry. He immediately thinks that Harry deceived him and put his name in the Goblet of Fire. He does not believe Harry. If your best friend is telling you something, why would you think they're just not good friends? They're not. Or at least not yet. Yes, they're 14-year-old boys and they're gonna fight, but still. And in the movies, they really show that immediately once the name pops up out of the goblet, Ron does not like Harry. He's like, this bitch deceived me. He's holding out on me. And I just think if you were best friends, you wouldn't think ill of your best friend that quickly. So another thing I realized was that in the movies, they were teasing us with Ron and Hermione very early. Very early. Just like them in that little bit that you can hardly hear because they're teenagers at Hogsmeade, alone at Hogsmeade.
Did I mention that?
Twice.
Do you want to move a bit closer?
Huh?
Crum had no business being into Hermione. None. Not even just because of the age, which is the reason. People say that she was actually 15, she wasn't 14. Fine, you want to be comfortable with it because she was 15 and he was 18. I'm still not comfortable with that anyways. He had a whole ass career. Why are you interested in somebody who's still in school, countries away, 15 years old, and you're a career man? I'm uncomfy. Page 260, they describe the Patel sisters. Patel, I'm sorry. They describe the sisters as the best looking in their year. But then they did them dirty with their dresses. It's racism. It's racism. They did them so dirty with their dress. Their dresses could have been beautiful. They knew that their dresses could have had flavor and they did not want them to have the flavor. I think they knew what they were doing. I needed to pop this bad boy out. Okay. Page 315, we got Mr. Ronald Weasley taking credit once again for something he didn't do. So he got a kiss from the Viva Fleur.
What would you like to do if you had a magic power?
Kill you.
Okay.
Ron just gets on my freaking nerves. Ron is like, must be nice to have so much money. You don't notice if a pocket full of galleons goes missing. There was literally a terrorist attack. Another thing they don't even touch in the movies. Mrs. Weasley, you're being a bitch to a 14-year-old. That's like the muggle equivalent of like, what do they say when they call little girls fast? Hermione literally marries Ron, and she's gonna have to remember for the rest of her life that her mother-in-law thought ill of her as a 14-year-old. That's disgusting, because it's Molly Weasley and she's like motherly to everyone besides a girl. Oh my god, I guess it's not shocking. We all know moms. When they don't like you as a child, when they don't like your friend, they don't stop. And the thing is that Molly literally tells Amos Diggory, she bashes him for believing what the Daily Prophet is saying, and she's like, why are you believing that newspaper? But then she turns around and believes that newspaper. Oh, another racist thing, how Hermione's like, is that really what my hair? I could do a whole video, and I hope to do a whole video on curly/wavy hair in Hollywood and film and TV, the way that Hermione's hair was handled, honestly, throughout the entire series. I don't think that just because Emma complained about the hairstyle, that she should have been like let off the hook. I think there could have been a transformation of her hair, but the way that they had it go from bushy hair to straight hair by the end of the series, it just doesn't sit right with my heart. Okay, my very last point. I don't like the second Dumbledore. I believe the first one's name is Richard Harris. I understand he dies. I understand there's no going around recasting. However, in a perfect world, he wouldn't have died, I guess, and he would have been able to fulfill the role. The second Dumbledore, I don't even know his name. Irrelevant. He's so theatrical. He's literally so theatrical, and I don't like it. Did you put your name in the goblet of fire? But another part that he was really theatrical, and they describe him as calm, is the hearing in the Order of Phoenix. They describe him as super calm and composed, but in the movies he's just like, he's got a bunch of jumpiness to him, and he's just like, wow. Goblet of Fire too, he's like, wow. And that's pretty much everything that I had to say.
Yeah.